Where did you choose to get your doctorate degree? I know you went to a few colleges for different studies.
Well, I was always taught that education is one thing that no one can ever take away from
No,
you.
right, exactly.
And so I went to Lamar University. That's where I got my Bachelor of Science degree in sociology. Then after that, as I began to live in the real world, I had an interest in understanding life. And that's when I attended the College of Biblical Studies over in Houston. And after that, I then decided, I got involved in community affairs. And there's a guy that had told me I needed to give back to my community because the community had given a lot to me. And that's when I first ran for political office. I ran for the school board, Beaumont Independent School Board. And I was successful in that. I became a Beaumont trustee. I was on the school board and I was there for about a year. And that's when Beaumont Independent School District merged with South Park Independent School District, and they dissolved BISD board, and so at that point I had to make a decision of whether I was going to run for the new board or what I was going to do. And at that time I chose to run for city council, and that's when I ran for Beaumont City Council in 1984. And I was successful, and that's when I stayed. I first went on to the Beaumont City Council in 1984.
So I also know that you went to school to become a lawyer. So what lane you went first? You went from councilman to lawyer or lawyer to councilman?
I went from councilman to lawyer.
Okay.
Initially, when I decided to go to law school, it wasn't to be a lawyer. I just wanted to, since I was on the city council, the legislative body, I wanted to understand how it worked. So that I went to learn. And after being in law school, I went to law school when I was 35.
Wow.
And I went late. And
it's never too late.
Never too late. So after going to law school and getting my degree and going through all of that, and having to sit and take the bar exam, I said, well, there's no sense in me not exercising.
Right, you just went through all that, exactly.
So I then began to practice law, and that's what I've been doing since then. But a lot of this, it just goes back to my background, my parents. I think they were key in my life. Again, like I said, being an only child, and then being a teacher's child,
right?
People looked at me differently. A lot of folks thought we were supposedly privileged, but my parents taught me you can't beat hard work, and that's what I began to do. But as a teacher's kid, there were times I had to do things that I probably wouldn't have ordinarily done. I got in fights.
You got into fights with Sam?
Yeah, a few. But I think that's what got me to really into athletics, because when I began to excel on the field, the tough guys, they were on the football field.
Right.
And if I could hold myself on the field, then I could hold myself in the neighborhood. And then you kind of develop a reputation. And so that I think I had a reputation of being a likable guy, but they said he can, don't make him mad. He kind of cuckoo. So, but that helped me balance. It brought about a balance that I think has been beneficial to me today, because having played football, in the North End. I was from the North End.
I was just about to ask what side of town you was from.
I was from the North End of Beaumont.
Like Magnolia?
Helbig.
Helbig, okay.
So everybody.
He's a Helbig shit.
Everybody talk about Helbig. We were country boys.
Yeah.
And if and when I was coming up as a boy, we played football in the neighborhoods, and one neighborhood would go to another neighborhood to play football. And so when you talk about being different, times are different. Right. Back then, when you go to another area of town, sometimes what you doing here? But when we were playing football, whoever wins, that's who wins. And during my time, when there were disputes or arguments, sometimes there'd be fights, and they get it done, and it was over.
Right.
It's a lot different now.
A lot different. They're
now.
Not even fighting anymore.
Yeah. So times are different, but I believe that mix of old school helped me to really understand today's communities, today's societies, and I believe that's the gift that God has given me. A discernment to look back, look at where I came from, look at where we are today, and try to impact, trying to go where we need to be. Yeah. So that's always been a part of me, public service.